Today's challenge is understanding strategic progress. What we're used to hearing is about about production processes. This could be as simple as folding a paper airplane. In folding a paper airplane, we start off with a raw product, the piece of paper. And then through a series of folds, we end up with something that we call a paper airplane. And that's the finished product. There are many productive processes out there, whether it's making a PowerPoint presentation, a movie, or baking a cake. Competitive processes don't work the same way, but they can be just as easy as baking a cake though. Competitive processes are what we call loopy. Sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, in essence, they loop and feed back to itself. We call this feedback. In the military, they have something called the OODA loop cycle, where we observe, orient, decide, and act. Well, strategic cycles often work the same way, where it's constant filtering, organizing of information, responding to that information, and then you end up with a new situation that you got to respond to again. So in strategic situations, since they're always cycling back to itself and restarting, you can never truly end. Like in a productive cycle, you can go from beginning to end and you're done. In a strategic cycle, you never truly end, which means as long as you don't run out of resources, you can never truly fail either. Out of each move that you make is a learning experience. So given the situation, where's the opportunity? The opportunity is embracing its own nature. Just like we embrace productive environments as a tool for producing from a position, we have to be able to know how to advance that position. It's a never-ending process of taking a look at what the environment looks like and acting on that information. What happens when we do that? It creates a new situation over and over, like the hamster running on the wheel. I kind of started my career years ago as making YouTube videos, and while I'm still learning, each video that I've made, I've learned something different from it, something different where I can improve and make a better video on. For example, something I'm trying to do more now is connect to my audience. Why do you want to learn Sun Tzu strategy? Because it's the key to unlocking your potential in life. So every attempted move creates a better knowledge of our position as well as the conditions around us. Continual change is happening around us all the time. Even right now as you're watching this, there's change going on around you. And it's hard to spot those changes. What we need is a powerful mental model that can be in sync with those changes. Now, our specific mental models for handling situations can go out of date pretty quickly. Pretty much, it leads to the concept of fighting yesterday's war. Our specific mental models will work less and less well over time. So we have to continually adjust and reform our mental models with the changing conditions. And that's a challenge. Not only that, but the changes in climate are always affecting a position, and it affects everyone's positions in different ways. For example, take an event that might happen in your town. That event may affect you little to none at all or in a certain way, or it may affect someone else in a different way. So also understanding how changes will affect different people is also a challenge. Our opportunity is understanding the simple mental model of Sun Tzu. He taught that creation led to destruction. Destruction, similarly, led to creation. The start of a new day is the end of an old day. The start of a new era of human history is the end of an old era of human history. Something new that's going on in the environment means basically the death of an old event that happened in the environment. This concept right here is actually closely tied with 1.2, where we discussed the objective reality of a situation and the different views of that reality. A lot of what happens is that our opinions can be pretty stubborn. We can continue to hold our opinions long after something becomes untrue. When new innovations tend to change the lives of others, we can tend to hold on to the old systems and old traditions and old facts about a situation that are. Those who see the changes in the situation can understand better what's going on in the environment and be able to adapt to those changes. I said earlier that strategic processes never end, which means we can never truly be done adapting to situations that we're facing, which can be quite a problem. What we need is a system where we can filter, organize, and prioritize all the information overload that's coming in from the environment, or that's coming in from around us. it can be pretty complex and very dynamic and very confusing. And without a system like that, without a mental model like that, we're just going to end up with a very haphazard, chaotic view, a confusing view of the situation around us. We can't adapt quite well. Sun Tzu said, those that can adapt to the situation lead to progress, and those who can't accurately adapt to the situation will fail. What we might see is certain events, and we might focus a lot on those specific events, but when in reality, those events might distract us from stuff that's even more important that's going on around us. We have to understand that the difference between what events are important and what events are just urgent. Here's our opportunity. Earlier in this section of the rulebook, we started talking about how to strategically analyze anyone's position, ours or someone else's. The only problem with this is that it gives us a quick snapshot of that person's or our position. What happens is positions are constantly changing and things are constantly happening. So to keep up with these changes, we have to keep analyzing a position. The real value is something called situation awareness. We develop situational awareness by continuing to analyze strategic positions, kind of like how this camera I'm filming with is working right now. It's taking a series of snapshots that happen so fast that it's making a motion picture. We too can make a motion picture of strategic positions and see where they're heading. So our opportunity is not to see the current situation, but to where that situation is currently heading. There could be a real problem between when we get the information in and when we decide to respond to that information. Quite literally, I've been getting feedback about my videos from certain people so far. And one of the things is since I'm so ahead, it will take quite a few videos before that feedback is actually put in. Events are constantly changing so fast that we have to be able to keep up with those changes. It's kind of like a treadmill. We're not able to keep up with that treadmill, we're going to fall into the wall or whatever's behind us, and that could really lead us to serious injury. If we cannot keep getting feedback and responding to that feedback quickly, fast enough, then we'll end up seeing a similar situation as the treadmill. Our opportunity is that every action that we have is just an experiment. Even if our experiments just show that what we've been doing is not working, at the core of every move is just information gathering, trying to find out about the situation, our position, how it fits that situation, and how other people's positions connect with ours. The real opportunity is being able to react fast enough to information we're receiving about the environment. Being able to keep track of that fast enough can help us to keep the opportunities that others are missing. The last concept in this is kind of a hard word for me to say, but it's a probabilistic process. We're talking about solving problems here. And in linear production, you solve problems in a very predictable way. You come up with a series of steps to solve the problem, like troubleshooting a computer problem. And you solve those problems in that order. And each time you do something to fix the problem, you know exactly what it's going to do. You know exactly the effect it's going to have on the situation. Strategic processes are really just the opposite. The two things about competitive environments are that they're complex and they're dynamic. This kind of relates to the concept back in 1.4, competitive environment, where it talks about those two concepts. But they're complex and they're dynamic, which makes our productive problem-solving techniques a horrible tool for the situation. It's like using a hammer for a screwdriver's job. It just won't work because it's the wrong tool for the job. Even if it were possible, which it isn't, to know every single thing about a situation, to know every condition and every factor that goes into that situation, every person in the environment is their own actor, and they're free to invent new responses and new ways to react to situations that have an unknown effect on the situation itself. Our opportunity is to embrace Sun Tzu's mental model here. And what that is to understand that while we're not looking for determined success, like in production where something's determined, if you do this, this will happen, like a mixed chemical A and B, you're automatically going to get chemical C. We only know the probabilities of things in competition. This is likely to happen, this is likely to produce this result. But also in competition, what makes things a little bit more challenging is that those probabilities are always changing. What's really likely to help us out today might be very unlikely to help us out tomorrow. Now, we have to use methods that increase our chances of success, but still not put too much investment into those moves, because most moves are bound to fail anyway. So when we lose, which will be more often than not, the investment that we lose is very small. So the thing is, as long as we keep having moves to try, as long as we're basically still alive in competition and still have resources to our name, as long as we keep trying high probability moves, moves that have a high probability of working, over time, we're bound to see progress and we're bound to have moves that are going to succeed. It's just likely. The other thing about the environment is that the probabilities themselves are unknown. We can't really say how % likely this is to work, to help ourselves out, like we can in productive situations. In competitive situations, the only thing we can do, like 1.3 earlier in this section of the rule book, is we just have to compare. This alternative works better than that alternative. This filmmaking technique works better than that filmmaking technique. Giving a handshake to meet somebody new is better than slapping them in the face to meet somebody new. And so we can know the criteria for making higher probability moves with 7 rules. Those 7 rules are found in the Warriors Rulebook article for this concept. So this is the end of SOSI concepts. And like always, like, comment, subscribe, and check out www.scienceandstrategy.org to find the specific rules for each article today, as well as the other features and things I've talked about before on the channel that you can find there. It's pretty awesome. Just remember, Sun Tzu's strategy is all about advancing our position and unlocking key progress over our lives. We can make significant progress in our lives, whether it's a professional or personal life, or any of the other kind of lives we have, by being able to follow Sun Tzu's principles for competitive success. I personally use these principles, and thousands of others all over the world have used these principles to do all kinds of things. And if you want to see these testimonials of what people have done, you can check out scienceandstrategy.org, and under Gary's quotes, you can find out all these different things that people have used these competitive tools for to solve problems in their lives. So don't just take my word for it that it works, and that's awesome. Well, without much to say, this is Mr. Balderdash signing out.